So my name is Ollie. I am a sex tech researcher. So I spent my degrees researching the history of sexuality, queer theory, and finalized in sex robots and sex technology. Since graduating, probably about 3 years ago, now I've been working with multiple sex positive companies, and one of my clients currently is the online publication Sex Tech Guide. So I'm here today, mostly because Rick found me, but it's because I regularly report on dating apps for Sex Tech Guide, so much so that my editor considers it my favourite topic, and that's alongside researching vibrators and all the other stuff. So you can see I do quite enjoy dating apps. A little fun fact for you, so Tinder, you may know this, Tinder launched in 2012, and within 2 years, by 2014, it was registering 1 billion swipes a day. And so we're in 2020 now, so that must be a lot. But last year, Tinder became the highest grossing mobile app. So today it may be limiting those swipes, but I would say it's still inspired a generation of gamified online dating that treats users as data to be sold. I'll go into that in a bit, and creates a distance between people rather than actually connecting people, which is what we'd hope dating apps to do. Just quickly. I would argue that considering this list, online dating now comes with even more baggage than real life relationships. Try and counter me on that one. So what are some of the main problems with online dating? Little tear face. Leaks of private data, romance scams, extortion. This is the stuff I have to write about. Selling data to advertisers, the high costs of online dating these days, algorithm bias, harassment and fetishization of users, safety concerns, swipe culture, catfishing, kitten fishing, for those of you who don't know, photoshopping, rather than using someone else's photos, ghosting, zombieing, breadcrumbing. I'll go through some of these in a little bit more detail. I'm sure most of you remember the 2015 Ashley Madison case. There was life is short, have an affair. Maybe this hasn't updated, but so there was 32 million users' data that was leaked, and I actually saw a report recently that leak continues to ruin people's lives today. In 2018, Grindr leaked its users' HIV status to third parties, and you can just imagine how horrible that is. In 2019, so in May, 42.5 million records were exposed from the dating apps Cougar Dating, Mingler, Friends with Benefits, Christian Finder, and trans dating apps. In August, more than 1.5 million users of the threesome dating app 3Fun had their data exposed right down to their real-time location. In January 2020, so last month, 70,000 Tinder photos along with usernames were found to have been leaked onto a cybercrime forum. And this in the past has led to the abusive usage of people's information in catfishing and blackmail scams. So, pretty crap. Selling of private data to advertisers. So a recent Norwegian study that was published about maybe a month or two ago basically did an investigation on about 10 apps, 10 quite popular apps, one of them being a period tracking app, but a few of them being dating apps. And for one example, OkCupid, which is owned by Match Group, shared the personal data regarding its users' sexuality, drug use and political views with analytics companies. So you can imagine with the whole scandal of Cambridge Analytica how interesting that all plays into when you're putting your personal information, quite private information, onto these dating apps. Obviously dating, the real life leaving the house dating is expensive enough, as you know. Online dating over the years has become a huge industry. turning its users into commodities. Tinder, for example, launched Tinder Plus in 2015, costing users up to $20 a month for profile boosts, undo swipes, infinite super likes, overseas matching, all to increase your chances of finding a match. I don't know how overseas matching is going to really help anyone. In 2017, Tinder Gold was introduced, and that was about $30 a month, and you can boost your way into the top picks and instantly see who likes you so you can start chatting. And I don't know about you, but it kind of takes away a little bit from the mystery of online dating, if there is any left on online dating. But it clearly must be worth it, as of August last year, Match said that there was a whopping 70% of its users were subscribed to Tinder Gold at some point. But I want to ask where that leaves people who can't afford it, usually probably at the bottom of the algorithm pile. So you're probably not being seen by anyone if you're not paying enough money. We all know about the online dating trends, and there's more and more. You read all about these breadcrumbing, zombieing, benching. There's so many online dating trends, and I'd like to call them bad manners. And it's just the idea that, yeah, we're gamifying dating and dissociating ourselves from the actual intimacy and connection that online dating, I believe, should be creating. To taking that a little bit further, these are quite tame examples of some harassment that you expect to get on online dating apps, but you get the idea. In 2016, a study found that over 50% of women actually experienced harassment on dating apps. And a more recent study found that 41% of female millennials have received unsolicited dick pics. Put your hand up if you've received an unsolicited dick pic. Oh, probably about 41. Yeah, probably about, yeah, maybe not that much, but it's quite a lot. So I wanted to ask, is anyone doing anything right? So I don't want to leave this on a bad note. There are some really great examples of what some new dating apps are doing to tackle these problems. So in tackling harassment, Bumble last year said it was going to launch its private detector to block unsolicited dick pics using an AI that is supposedly 98% accurate. I haven't actually heard any more recent news on this, so I don't know if, I think it's, someone's going to be speaking a bit later on that. Gemma? Hello! You might be able to fill us in a little bit on that. Plum Online Dating launched with a ranking system. I don't think I've got time to play the video, but some of you may have seen it or not. But they actually launched a ranking system so users can rate their dates based on profile authenticity, communication, and follow through on messages. So giving more control to people on those dates. Tackling a lot of racism, transphobia, femphobia, and fatphobia on dating apps. I know that in 2018, Grindr launched its #KindaGrindr campaign, where they launched a load of videos to basically encourage a kinder, safer space on these dating apps, where people were putting on their bios like no fats, no femmes, no Asians, and just all sorts of really horrible stuff. Butterfly is a new dating app that is aimed at centering trans people. It's a trans-led dating app, and it's created an artificial intelligence on the app to censor transphobic messages. So it's placing the control in the trans users' hands. Lex actually began as a personals dating thing on Instagram. So people would send in their personals, like as if you would have in an old magazine and the old newspapers. And it's directly for queer women, and it's now launched as an app to basically avoid the idea of like a shallow swipe culture that we have. So you don't actually share any photos until a few times after you've messaged. So this is actually quite an old graph, but 80%, there was a study that was done, 80% of queer people said that dating apps actually had a positive impact on their community. And even though it's quite old, you can see the progression of same-sex couples actually meeting online. And a more recent study said that about 65% of same-sex couples actually have met online. And from personal experience, when I was single, it was actually the only way I successfully met women, because you're interacting with people who are genuinely probably interested rather than like feeling a bit blind. Sexual compatibility. So some of my more exciting research on dating apps is the apps that want to match you based on sexual compatibility. So they encourage like the sex positive and normalize the conversation around sex on the apps. I think I saw a study that said Tinder is 50% hookup, 50% dating, but there's no explicit place for you to say that on the app. Whereas these new apps that have come out, I know Field's been around for a few years, used to go under the name of Thrinder, before I think it got sued by Tinder, understandably. Fantasy, Fantasy is like an ethical non-monogamy app and a safe space for people to date and communicate, where you can explicitly speak about your fantasies and passions without fear of judgment. Field, it's basically a threesome app, dating for couples and singles. And they are actually really inclusive, and you can choose from a wide range of gender and sexual identities. Waves is recently launched. They are designed to normalize kinks, and you basically input your preferences, your sexual preferences, and you can put your limits, your hard limits, soft limits, undecided, on stuff like choking and spanking and stuff like that. So you can actually input that information and the algorithms will kind of match you based on your preferences in that sense. No Grey is quite an interesting one. I know that they have been banned on Google Play Store, but they are a kink positive app that where you can again input your preferences, but you can pre-negotiate BDSM scenes and you're matched on compatibility of what that scene might look like. And finally, the future of online dating. What could that look like? I guess from my slideshow, I just wanted to say that users should not be seen as just data, not to be seen as data to be sold. They're not just commodities. Technology, as weird as it may sound, should be used to humanize the experience of dating. And actually, the idea is, like I said before, is to bring people together, enhance the sexual experience, enhance intimacy, and enhance connection. And we should also be looking after those most vulnerable in society, and safety is paramount. Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions before we take a short break?
Yep.
Yes.
I'm not sure how to frame it, but is it possible to, if Tinder has such a large market share and a lot of their revenue is based on selling data, is it possible that it's necessary to sell data to exist in this market?
I think not. I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but I don't think, I mean, they're a pretty big company. I don't think they need to be selling data to be making money, especially if they're making money off its users enough already. 70% of its users are on Tinder Gold, for example. But maybe if someone from Tinder would disagree.
Let's just talk about online dating and safety. I know Tinder have partnered with Noonlight in America, which is, have you heard of it? It's a dating safety. I was wondering if you know of any other dating apps that have done anything similar?
So I know a little bit about that, and they do it's like a dating check-in on your date. I know that when I was reviewing a load of kink and fetish apps about a year ago, most of those have verification checks, and I know that a lot of the mainstream ones don't. So those verification checks, sometimes you actually there's a more privacy concerns there, but you have to take a photo of your ID just to prove that you're a real human being. And I know that there are apps that have those kind of check-ins, and you can message a friend, tell your family member if you're safe and stuff. So yeah, there are definitely ways of doing that.
We're in a room with UX researchers, UX designers, accessibility specialists. So my question to you is, if you had to give one piece of advice to people in the room who design products, whether you design them for dating or charities or whatever, what specifically is the advice? Because we're inherently taught as designers, or you expect practitioners to look at the empathy side of things, but you get the business side of things that coincide. So I think coming from a completely different world, I think you might give us a different perspective on what we can do.
Well, it's an interesting question, because I think even when I'm in like the sex positive community, we have a lot to learn from the kink community, where we talk about consent and this idea of safety, and I think that is actually something that we should bring into the mainstream. Even when you're making apps or making technology, that is something that you should be thinking about. The people who are, again, most vulnerable, who are going to be using these apps or using this technology, and thinking about them first and foremost, and making sure that, you know, those apps aren't going to be abusing those people.
Okay, can we thank Ollie?